Afrikaner to speak to us about his identity and about how he's reimagining it for the next generation.
Hello Earth, my name is Jaco and Merwe. I'm 30 years old. My family has lived in South Africa for centuries. I make Afrikaans rap music.
Talk to me about growing up in Pretoria. What is this city culturally, socially? What has it been?
Well,
what is it?
Yeah, the history of Pretoria is obviously filled with bloodshed. There's probably blood on the ground right underneath us. It's always been a sort of controversial city because it was, you know, South Africa is such a weird country. We have a national anthem that's split into languages, and if you look at the list of countries in the world on some sort of website, you'll notice South Africa also has 3 capitals, you know. So we're a country of division and a country that's always been sort of trying to patch itself together. And Pretoria has definitely been a big part of that. But growing up as an Afrikaner around the turn of the century was quite a complicated thing as a young person.
Talk to me about the difficulties, because even globally, people are unaware that there are white Africans, Afrikaners. For you, what were the challenges?
Okay, cool. So you've touched on a topic that in literary circles in South Africa has been a real wrestling ground. People have been arguing, you know, for centuries now, what is an Afrikaner? So we've got this European root, but what makes the Afrikaner an Afrikaner, which literally translated means someone that comes from Africa, you know, an African, I guess, is almost the most direct translation, is that Afrikaners belong in a way on this, you know, in this land. Like our forefathers' blood is also in this land. Yes, I want to use the F word, we messed it up, you know, like we made a lot of mistakes in this country, but we belong here.
Mistakes being?
Well, the A word, I'm just joking. Well, of course, the mistakes would be, yes, there's a lot of things that I should and shouldn't say.
But why do you say that? Because that's specifically what we're trying to get to. How someone is both preserving their identity, their culture, their lineage, but also modernizing and living amongst others in a rainbow nation.
Well, let me tell you my story. I grew up in Pretoria, and my parents are fairly liberal. They put me in a school, so I was in grade 1 in 1988, I think, or 89. Which is where I started school. My parents put me in a school that was already integrated, racially integrated. So I grew up with black kids and colored kids and Indian kids and white kids, English, Afrikaans kids, everyone mixed together. Around that time, it wasn't a very popular thing to be an Afrikaner in this country, especially if you were mixing with people who weren't Afrikaners. So as a teenager, I rebelled as hard as I could against my own people, against my own culture. It took a long time for me to reconcile with my own culture and my own people.
In the late 90s, you're gaining control of your identity, your Afrikaner heritage. So what then prompted you to want to rap?
So I started writing a lot of like hip-hop poetry, you know, spoken word style, slam style stuff. The historical implication towards the band is that the 3 of us grew up in English schools, me and Peach and Louis, and this is how we there's a lovely word in Afrikaans, versoen, which means to reconcile, but it actually means it's almost like to kiss. So we reconciled with our own culture through this band, and I just realized I need to reconcile with my mother tongue. There's like a beautiful language here, and I've been rejecting it my whole life because it felt like Afrikaans had rejected me.
Do you get Afrikaners saying, our language is not supposed to be rapped like that in this kind of format, you're betraying heritage? Or do you get Afrikaners saying, wow, this is something brand new and different, we've been desperate for this?
So most Afrikaners have responded pretty well. The new generation likes the sound of Bitterreiner as well. And our new album is called The Dink Dance Machine. So it's like the Think Dance Machine. We like people to have a good time at our shows, and a lot of people come to see us because we have like huge bass beats and whatever. But at the same time, there's sort of an intellectual backbone.
But you also have a bit of fun. You poke fun in your songs, you don't take yourself too seriously. Talk to me about the single that you have out now.
Okay, cool. Well, the newest single we wrote actually focuses on the sort of tension between English and Afrikaans people in our country, and sort of makes a little joke out of it. There's a video with me and this English guy playing table tennis against each other and whatever. It's called Quite Nice. 1, 2, 3. Jaco laat my sauties, laughing at your accent, virgin on clothing. Het is toch funny, is 'n boer Engels praat met 'n pommy, maar vir my is daar 'n hele nuwe tipe comedy. Which is a play on words for quite nice, but in a horrible English accent or Afrikaans accent, and that's when it gets confusing. Afrikaans people often get teased about how we speak English. So I made a song about how funny it is when English people speak Afrikaans.
For you as an Afrikaner who is socially conscious and aware of what's happening around you, how do you describe life here?
So for me, mingling with other cultures and races has never been sort of a weird thing, and it's been a big part of what I've stood for and done,
But that's not common for most Afrikaners.
It's definitely not common, definitely not. So it gets pretty complicated being an Afrikaner.
But you, your band, your fans, this whole kind of demographic of music seems to suggest things are evolving.
I would definitely like to believe that. Like I said, we're part of a sort of more positive wave of young Afrikaners who are just expressing themselves through arts and music, and even the name Bitter Einde actually means a diehard. It means someone who doesn't give up, like to the bitter end, someone who refuses to give up. So that's also how we sort of view our music, that we don't give up, that's the positive context. And also, in a spiritual way, we like to believe that our music brings an end to bitterness. It tries to see something good in the future.
From rhymes inspiring social change to beats encouraging unity. When we return